tell you a story. When I was in 5th grade, a Sunday school teacher, a teacher at school. Well, I wanted to preface the story. There were two things I could remember from my 6th grade and under, two things that people spoke to me. One was a Sunday school teacher, and one was a teacher. I may remember other things, but as far as things that stick out to me, exact words that are said, or exact thoughts that occurred to me, I can remember two things from 6th grade and under. Just two. It's been a long time. A long time. You guys might remember more specific words that were shared to you. But these things just stick out in my mind. One of them, I was sitting in a classroom, and I remember struggling reading. I was not a very good reader. And the teacher came up next to me, and I don't know what I'd done. I wasn't too much of a goofball, but I was a little bit of a goofball where I'd say stuff to get people to laugh in class and everything, but I wasn't horrible. I never went to the principal's office. My brother, multiple trips to the principal's office. Me, not so much. I remember, this was the kind of thing I did, in 7th or 8th grade, this was 7th grade, the substitute teacher, and I turned around and I was talking to somebody behind me, and the teacher's over there teaching the class, and the substitute teacher came up and tapped me with the test on top of my head, just tapped me, just to get my attention. And I said, well, that was a hard test. That was the kind of stuff that I did, goofy stuff, and everybody laughed. I wasn't really a bad kid. But I struggled with reading. This teacher came up to me sometime during class, and I believe this was my 6th grade teacher, and she got my attention, and in front of the whole class, she said, "You're dumb, and you're never going to want to do it." And, oh my gosh, I remember my stomach just sank, and I never told my parents that. None of the kids ever talked to me about it, because they were kind of they could even tell that must have really hurt. And it was this physical feeling of defeat that came on. I often wondered if that didn't impact how long it did take me to learn to read fluently, because those words so shot into my heart and impacted me. Well, that same year, I was also going to church. And I remember sitting in the back row and there were probably about this many, and I believe it was 1st through 6th grade. I don't remember. And again, I'm going to tell you about some words I remembered, but I don't remember. This was amazing. I remember in 7th grade, we did a Bible study on Revelations. And that was my 7th and 8th grade as far as remembering what people said, what people taught. But I don't remember anything of 1st through 6th grade, except for this one thing. I was sitting in the back, and I loved to sing. And I'm sure as a 6th grader, my voice as a young man had never had any vocal training. I'm sure it was very interesting to listen to. But I loved to sing. And I'm sitting in the back of this classroom and singing with all my heart. And I believe it was during the middle of worship. A teacher came behind me and touched my shoulder. And I turned around, and there she was. And I don't know why, but just like when that school teacher talked to me, and it went right into my soul and grabbed a hold, and it impacted me. It was something I would never forget. This was another one of those windows. No idea this was going to happen. This teacher spoke to me and said, "You know what? First, she eulogized me. She blessed me. She said, 'You sing beautifully.'" "You liar!" No. She said, "You sing beautifully. Yeah, I love to hear you when you sing to Jesus." She was eulogizing me, opening up that soul, opening up that inside of me. And then she said to me, "You know, someday," and I don't know the exact words, but this is what she said, "Someday you're going to tell other people, you're going to get up front and you're going to tell children and you're going to tell adults about Jesus." And at the time, I remember feeling just like that word, that negative word, it was like a heavy thing. This word was just lifted me up. And I was like, wow, that was cool. I have a real blessing here this morning because I asked that teacher to come here. And that teacher was Bart Carson. It's right here. And so, pointing at me, I want to ask you the question again. Is there anything that we can do with our time, with our lives, that's more important than reaching and training that next generation for Christ? As a side note, what's kind of cool is those words that Bob shared with my life, help steer the course of my life. You know all those stories that I shared, and I could share many, many more? She takes part in those. Wow. If I lead an adult to Christ at 50, 55, 60, or they're 50 years old, they're going to impact people for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. You impact a child. Man, it's years and years and years. So when God takes that torch and he places it to all my stuff, and my Sunday school teacher is standing next to me and gets to see all these people, she gets to take part in that reward. Is there anything more important we can do with our lives than reach and train the next generation of Christ? You guys are doing it. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, we ask that you would just speak to our hearts right now. How can we more? Show us opportunities, God. God, we want to pour our lives into young people. And I thank you for this group. I pray, God, that you would bless them for coming on a Saturday morning and being willing to pour their lives into young people. But God, if there's more that you want us to do, we want it. We want to pour our lives for you, and we want to see this next generation know. God, we lift up, and just as we're closing in prayer, I want you to think about your kids in your nursery class, in your youth ministry, in your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, whatever it is. I want you to think about your kids. God, we lift them up, and God, we pray. We pray for opportunities. Like my Sunday school teacher had to speak words of life into these children. To show that we care for these children, to love these children. God, use us. Use us. We're your hands and your feet. In Jesus' name, everybody said, Amen. I want to share, I just thought about it. I got to share this one last story. It's very funny. Because it deals with my Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Townsend. She invited us out to our house to go horseback riding. This was the first and the last time I ever got on a horse. I didn't understand. I'm this little kid. I didn't understand the directions. I thought to make the horse slow down, I thought it was just opposite what you would think. I guess I wasn't a very good listener. It was opposite what you think. You think you pull on them, but it was opposite that. So that's what I thought I heard. So when the horse is going too fast, you give it more reins, and you give it more reins. I was so scared. I gave it more reins, and I'm like, whoa, it's going faster. I don't want it to go faster. And I kept leaning forward, and the saddle went further and further back on the horse, and I'm going to die on this thing. And I remember hearing her in the background shouting something, save him, whatever it was. But finally, it was getting so far back, and it's like when you're trying something over and over and over again, and it's not working, So I remember pulling on it. The horse stopped. I got off the horse. Never have been on a horse. So that was my horseback riding story.